Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be continuing with our dashboard series, creating this time tracker template right here. It's a time tracker for a freelancer, but really it can be used by anyone that's trying to track their time, especially if that time is tied to a task that's tied to a project or a client. That's what this template is going to be for. We'll start with a template overview. Like the others, we'll have 3 tabs: a setup tab, a database tab, and this is where we're pretty much dumping in the information. It's always a simple table. And of course, we have the dashboard tab, which is going to be the focus of this video. We have several summary graphs here. And then on this side, we have 2 graphs and 2 tables. We'll come back and dive into this in more detail when we start creating this dashboard. So back to our checklist, we can cross this off. The first thing we're going to do is create the setup tab. Here is the setup tab. I'll start with adding a new sheet, and I will name this setup 2. Throughout this tutorial, I will refer to this setup tab as the example tab and the setup 2 as the template. So just in case you hear me say go back to the example tab or go back to the template tab, this is what I mean. In this new tab, I will clean up the sheet, meaning that I will select the entire space, change it to my desired font, change some of the alignments, and then what I always do is remove excess rows and columns. And I like to remove somewhere around J and delete them, and I'm going to remove everything after 21. All right, and again, I'm just removing excess rows and columns. Even though I know I'm going to need to add some of them back, it makes it easier for me to deal with a smaller space, especially if I need to do things like resize. So right now I'm resizing the rows to 30, and then I'm going to resize these 2 columns, the first and the last one, and I'll do 30 as well. Back to the example so we can see exactly what we need. So we need 4 columns, and then we have spaces between each column. Back here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Resize these columns, let's say 200, and then select these columns in between, and we're going to make those 30. All right, and here's the header for the first table. Add a border around it, and then add the border around the entire table. So it looks like this. I'm going to add colors and then use the opportunity to show you what I do with my colors. So of course you can select fill color and add whatever color you want. I do encourage you to use custom colors because it makes it easier later on to change the colors. So let's say you select this green color now, and then you change your mind later on. You don't have to go back and reselect the color, especially if you've already applied this green color to many parts of the template, like I have already done. So right here, you can see there's this dark green color. And let's say I change my mind. I don't want to use this color anymore. All I need to do is go here and change the color. Let's say we're gonna do this purple color now. And now it changes automatically here and any single part of the template that I had that color. So it makes it a lot easier to control the colors. There are many pre-made colors that you can use from, and then you can go in and change some of the colors if you don't like it. Back here, I'm going to stick with the palette I started with. You choose whatever color that you want to use for your template. Everyone has a different style and taste. One last thing is to apply internal borders. So selecting the entire internal space, going back to borders, changing it to this light color and this dotted line. We use horizontal internal borders, and it's hard to see here because we still have the grid lines. I'm going to add a color in this space as well. Add this color. Select the entire table. Use the paint format and paste it in the next space. And one more. Now we can remove the grid lines, going back to view, show grid lines. And then you can add whatever titles you want. If you want to follow this tutorial exactly how I am doing it and then later on make your changes, go ahead and use the same headers that I am using. Back to the setup tab, I have task category, priority, project, and client name. These are the 4 drop downs that will go into the database. If you're going to be using these same drop downs, go ahead and type the headers and your own specific drop downs that go underneath these headers. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use the same ones and paste values only. So that is it with the setup tab. Back to the checklists, we can check this off. Next, we're going to create the time tracker database table, this table right here. So I'll give you a quick overview and then we'll go ahead and recreate it. So here you can see the table has an area for task. These are the drop downs that we're going to create from the tables created in the setup tab. We have a space for date, time, and then here are 2 columns related to the amount of money tied to this time. So if this doesn't apply to you, you can of course use these columns for other things or completely omit them. I want you to use the same rows and columns and ranges that I'm using so that the formulas work, because you could always go back later on once your formulas work and make changes, because if you miss a certain range and use the wrong reference, the formulas might not work. Okay, so let's create a new sheet. And again, I'm going to do the same thing, selecting the entire sheet and cleaning it up. All right, so here is my cleaned up tab. I'll start by adding some borders. Here would be the border for the title. Change it back to this darker color, add my border. and then select your entire table. This table goes all the way down to 1,000, so for as many tasks as you need. So I'm adding external borders, and then I want to add internal borders as well. So I'm going to do internal horizontal, but I don't want this dark color. So now that I have applied it already, I can go ahead and change the color, and it will update once I change the color and change the style. So you can barely see it because the grid lines are on, but once we remove it, you should be able to see it clearly. Now I'm going to go back and just double check to see the actual columns that we need. So we need columns all the way to O. So P is where the sheet ends. So I'm going to go back here and add more columns. All right, so now I have A all the way through P. And then I'll rename this sheet Time Tracker Database 2. I'm going to go ahead and add some colors. So go ahead and add the colors that you want for your table. Then back to the example, I'm going to copy these headers. So if you're going to use the same headers, go ahead and pause the video and take a look at the headers. So we have task number, task name, project, category, client, priority, date, month/year. This is going to be a derivative of this column. We're just extracting the month and the year from this date. Start and end time. The hour spent will be the difference between the end and the start time. The rate per hour and the amount earned, and then one for notes. So going back to our template, paste values only. All right, and then we need to readjust. So the first one is going to be for number, so it can be really narrow. The task name and the notes, I'm going to make them the same. So select both of them, resize them to 300. And of course, you can make them bigger or smaller depending on what your needs are. Project, category, client, and priority. I'm going to resize them together to keep it uniform. I'll make these 150. And then these guys, so they're about the same. So I'll make all of them 125. And then I can readjust them individually if they need more space. Select the entire header row and use text wrapping to wrap it because some of them might need a little bit more space. And I'll make this row bigger. So it is 30 right now. I'll make it 35. That way, if the text wraps, you're still able to read both lines of text. Next, we're going to add our drop downs, date picker option, and formulas into the table. You can add drop downs by going on insert and drop down, or you can do data validation. I'm going to open up the data validation tab because we're going to use it several times as we format this table. So we're starting with a project drop down. To add a drop down, start by selecting a few cells in that column. We do want to apply it all the way down to 1,000, but you don't have to select all the way down because once we go to add rule, we can readjust the selection here. Right now it goes down to 12. And if I remove row 12, now it's going to select all the way down to 1,000. We need to change that to drop down from range. Click on select data range, go to our setup tab, and then select our projects. Select this range here, click OK. You can click on advanced options. If you want to change the style, right now it automatically selects chip. I'm going to leave it as chip and click done. If you want to apply colors, you can go ahead and apply the colors here to the different projects. We'll do the same thing for categories. Select a few of them, add rule, remove the row number so it selects everything automatically. Drop down from range, select the data range for category, click done. Repeat the step 2 more times. Next, we're going to work on our dates. What we need is when we double click, we want the calendar to show up so that we can easily select the dates, and all the dates are formatted exactly the same. So to do this, we'll do the same thing. Select a few rows, add row, remove 9 or whatever the last number is that you have selected. Change it from drop down to is valid dates and reject the input. You could also check this box if you want to show additional help, especially if you're sharing the sheet with somebody else, and then click done. Now, when we double click in any single row in this column, this calendar shows up, allowing us to select the dates. I want a different format for the date. I'm going to select this entire column, formats, number, custom date and time. And I'm going to use this format here. I want it to be the shortened version of the month and the day with leading 0 and a full year. And click apply. Next, I want the month and the year extracted from this date. So you can use a formula to do this, or you can simply reference this date and change how it's displayed here. To reference this date, all we have to do is click on the cell, click equals, click on this cell and enter. All right, so now we have the exact same date showing up here, but we really only wanted to display the month and the year. So select the entire column, go to format, number, custom date and time. Now, instead of having all 3 options here, we only want the month and the year. So delete the one that says day, and I'm going to remove the comma and the extra space and apply. All right, so now it says May 2025. And actually what I'm going to do is go back to custom date and time and change this to full month, okay? Instead of showing the abbreviation, and click apply. So let's say August, and there it looks like this. And this would make sense when we create the graphs later on. So You can use abbreviated version or you can use the full month. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on how you want to display it in your dashboard. Next, we're going to do the start and end time. I'm going to select both of them, go back to format, number, and I want it to be in a time format like this. I'm going to apply this time format so that when I type 8 a.m., for example, it automatically formats like this. And I could even do 9 p.m. I don't have to type the column and the zeros. It automatically formats it in this way. All right. And then the next column is the difference between the end time and the start time. And that would be a formula. So equals this K3 minus J3, and then we're going to put that in parentheses and we're going to multiply the difference by 24. It's showing up in the time format, which is not what we want. So select the entire column, back to format, and we're just going to do number. And now it shows 13 hours, which is the difference between the start time and the end time. If I change this to 10 a.m., now it shows 2 hours, which is correct. The next column is optional. You can use it to track something else if you're not going to be tracking the rate per hour. This would make sense if you want to tie this time to an actual amount. You want to know, for example, if you charge $45 per hour, you want to be able to calculate how much you have earned based on the time spent on the task. We're going to add a currency format to column M, select the entire range format. So here are some of the currency options we have. If you don't see your currency here, go to custom currency and type your country and select your currency. All right, so I'll go back to format and I'm going to select the currency that shows up right here. The amount earned is going to be equals column M times column L, and that would be $90, which is correct. And then this final column does not need to be formatted. I also want to change the colors of these columns because they're formulas here. Select all the way down to 1,000 and add this gray color here. Repeat the same for these two. All right, and then finally, I want to copy this formula all the way down. So I'm just going to copy this cell, then select the entire column all the way down, paste formula only. You can double click and you can see that it is referencing the correct cell. Do the same for this. I'm going to copy this, select the entire range all the way down, right click, formula only. And for the last column, do the same thing, copy, formula only. And we can test it by adding a date here. Let's do 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. So that's 1 hour and the rate would be 45. So all the formulas work the way they're supposed to. And then now what I'm going to do next is add in my placeholder values. You can use placeholder values or you can go ahead and add in some real values if you're creating this template for personal use or for your business. To speed things along, I will go ahead and copy these and then I'm going to paste them here in our template tab. The template database is done. So we're going to remove the grid line, go to view grid line, and I'm going to add a filter so we can filter this table. To do this, select the header area, the first column to the last column in the table. Go up to the menu, select create a filter, this icon right here, and click on it. And as you can see, it automatically applies a filter to the entire table. So now you can filter your table if you need to, based on the column that you choose to apply the filter to. Back to our checklist, we have completed this step. We've added the data validation rules, so that means the drop downs and the dates, so we can cross this off. The next is to create the dashboard structure. We'll start with creating an outline of all of these areas. Then we'll add the formulas, the graphs, and wrap things up. Start again with a new sheet. We're going to call this dashboard 2. I'm going to take a peek here so I don't remove unnecessary columns. So remove anything past T and everything past 65. Delete. Select all of the rows, right click, resize, make this 30. And of course, we're going to resize the first and the last. So A and T, right click, make those 30 as well. So now we can start adding our outline. So let's go back to our example to see what we need to do first. This dashboard has 4 general sections. We have 2 columns, a space, 3 and a space, 3 columns and a space. The first one is 2 columns and space. So we're going to highlight these. Then 1, 2, 3, select 1, 2, 3, select 1, 2, 3, select, right click, resize, make it 30. Then we're going to resize these guys. So essentially all these columns in between, make them 125. And since this column is representing 2 columns, we're going to make this 250. So it's representing 2 of these. And this just gives symmetry to the dashboard. And then we're going to start with adding these areas right here, these headers here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So going back here, skip number 1. So start from 2, 3, 4, 5, add an outline. Do the same for the next one, but it's going to be 3 columns instead of 2. Add the outline. The rest of the sections are the same. Now we can use a paint format to speed things up and do the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and just select everything at once. I'm just going to add colors here. And then if we go back, you can see that this first row is smaller. It's more of an aesthetic, so there's not too much space between this text area and the border. We're just going to do the same thing here. So for column 2, resize that. Let's make it 15. All right, and then here's where the text is going to go, and here is where the formula is going to go. So we're going to merge the cell. All right, and the text is going to go there and merge the cell right here. Then do the same for this. Merge the cells here. But now we're doing all 3 and then all 6 here. These sections are the same, so I'm going to use the paint to speed things up. Going back to the example, we have this area done. Now we're going to create a rectangle that starts beneath this area all the way down to 64. Select this area all the way down to 64. Do the outline. And back here, we need an outline right here. The content will start from here, so these 5 rows. So add border around there, merge this cell and add the title of the table. Here is going to be start date. We're going to add date picker options here. So do start date, end date, and client's name, task, and time. We'll probably add one more border around this area and then add some colors. Go ahead and add whatever colors you want. Here we'll add date picker options, and here we're going to add a drop down. So to do this, select these 2 cells, data validation, add rule, change it to is valid dates, reject input, click done. So now when we select this, you can select the dates, start dates, and end dates. And you can change the format of the date like we did before. Go to custom date and time, select this option here. It's going to be the full month, the date with the leading 0, and the full year. Click apply. This looks good. This is going to be a drop down. Select that cell, add rule, drop down from range, go to your setup tab where you have your client name. Make sure you select the icon so you're able to select the range. Click OK. And for advanced options, I'm going to change the style to arrow and click done. Now we can select the client's name here. And when we enter in the formulas, you're going to be able to see how these drop downs and these dates tie into the task that gets filtered into this section. Back to our dashboard, we need this rectangle here for a long graph, and then these squares for more compact graphs. The first one goes from 7 to 18, and the next one from 20 to 31. 7 all the way down to 18. Put an outline there. Put an outline for the header area. We can also merge it as well. And then from 20 to 31, this is going to be more of a square outer border. Do the header as well. Merge. Select the entire thing. Use the paint format to make a copy of it next to it. That's what we have here. Go ahead and add the colors you want to add to yours. And the title for this is going to be monthly trend, because we are going to make a graph that summarizes the time spent per month. That's what's going to go here. And here we're going to add projects and clients. And you can type project and client, or you can reference the name used in your database. So do equals. Going back to our database, we have projects. So just select that cell, hit enter, and do the same. Go to our database and do clients, hit enter. Moving on, we have these 2 sections to create. They go all the way from row 7 to row 31. And then right here in row 16, we have subheaders. So do the same here, 7 to 31, add our outline, row 16, add an outline here for the subheaders. Merge this area and add your colors however you want. We're only merging this one right here, and these ones will remain individual columns. We have category summary and project summary. So we'll just add those headers in this area here. All right, so I want to explain why I have this collapsed, and this is because this section might lead to a long list of tasks depending on what your filter criteria is, and we have a lot of dead space here, so it doesn't really look good. So when you need to, you can go ahead and expand it, but if you don't need to, you can keep it collapsed so that the dashboard area still looks nice and organized. So we're going to do the same thing here. To do this, select row 32, which is the bottom of these sections here, all the way down to the bottom of this section. View group 32 to 64. So now when we collapse this, you can see that we have the space underneath here, but unfortunately we're losing this border here, as you can see, but there's a way to fix that. So let's go back here, open it up. We want this border to show up here when we collapse it. It's not doing that right now. So select this last row, go to border, remove the border color, so just clear border. So right now there's nothing here. And select it one more time. We're going to reapply the border, but now we're only going to apply the border at the top of this area right here. So go back and apply the border at the top, so top border. Now when you do this and you close it, now you can see it shows up like this. And if you don't have a long list of tasks, you may not ever need to do this, and you can just delete the areas below 32 to 64. If you want to use this space, you can go ahead and add additional charts or tables to summarize the information from your database. Before we wrap up the outline, let's add some more headers. We don't need to add the subheader here because this comes with a formula. The only headers we're missing are the ones that go here. Back to our dashboard example. This says the total number of hours worked yesterday, today, this week, this month, and this year. Copy that, paste values only, and make this smaller. Now that the outline is done, remove the grid lines. View, show grid lines. I want to add in some more internal borders. So select this, go to borders, change it to the lighter color and this dashed line, horizontal borders. And I'm going to do the same for this area and this area. And then I'm going to apply colors here. Apply colors however way you want, in whatever way works best for you. Let's go back to the checklist, see how we're doing. We've made the dashboard structure, check that off. Next, we're going to add our dashboard formulas. Let's go back to the example. We'll start with the formulas that go here, and then we'll work our way down section by section. Starting with this one, double clicking in this space so you can see the formula. The database, column L has the time, so the time spent, and we want to calculate that time based on the date. Column H has the dates. This formula is going to sum the number of hours in this column range based on yesterday, so that's why it's today minus 1. So we're going to copy this here. Pause the video so you can copy the formula. We're going to paste it in our sheet, but remember we need to change the name of the database. So this is referencing this database, which is the example, but I wanted to reference this database. So after I copy the formula and paste it in my dashboard, I will change the name from this database name to this database name. So let's go back to our dashboard 2. I'm going to paste the formula here and change it to Time Tracker Database 2. If your tab has a different name, type the exact name of your tab so that it matches. And then I'm going to hit enter, make this bigger. Let's make this 24 and bold. I'm actually going to do it for the entire area. 24 and bold. So we have 2 hours worked yesterday. We can double check that. Back to our database. Let's see. So today is the 21st of May. That's when I'm filming this video. So yesterday will be May 20th, and May 20th is right here. We have one task. Let's go all the way down to column L, and that is 2 hours. That's correct. So if I change this to 6 p.m., so this is 2 a.m. to 6 p.m., so that's 16 hours. If I go to dashboard 2, it should say 16 hours, so that is correct. Next, we're going to copy this formula. Here's the formula. It's a summit formula. The only difference is now this is referencing today instead of yesterday. Back to our dashboard, paste it here and change it to database 2. So now we also have 2 hours. Let's go back and make sure that that is correct. So today is the 21st of May. Yes, indeed, we have 2 hours. So let's change the start time to 9 a.m. So 9 to 3, 6 hours. When we go back to our dashboard, it should be 6. So the formula works the way it's supposed to. Let's continue. Now we're going to do this week. Double click. This formula will automatically detect the week you're in and calculate the hours in that week. Select the formula, dashboard, paste it here, change the name to make sure we're matching the correct tab. The next one will be for this month. So you can see it's a very similar formula, but instead of the day or the week, now it's referenced in a month. So select that, go to dashboard, paste it here. Now these formulas work seamlessly without having to adjust them because the ranges are correct. So if you have any issues with your formulas not working, double check to make sure that your dates are in this range. So let's do the last one, which is for the year. Double click here and you can see the formula again. The only difference is now it's referencing the current year. So select that, go to our template, paste that formula here, and just make sure you type in the correct name of the tab and hit enter. And then you can double check to make sure these numbers are correct. The current month is May right here. So if we select these cells here in May, the number of hours for May should be 37.7, which is correct. And the hours for the year should be 56.75, which is essentially all of these hours because we are in 2025. So all of these hours would be 56.75. So the formulas work the way they're supposed to. The next formula we're going to add, it's the one that goes in here. And I'll show you what that formula does. And then we'll copy it into our template. What this formula is going to do is going to review these dates. So the start and the end dates, right? And it's also going to review the name here. So it's referencing these 3 cells. And then it's going to go back to the database. It's going to look for these dates in column H. And it's going to look for the client's name. Client's name is in column F. So it's going to look through that information. And it's going to pull the task that is within these dates and that's assigned to this client. It's going to pull the task and it's going to pull the hours spent completing that task. And what's nice about this is that this is tied to clients, but if you want this to be something else, so let's say instead of clients, you want this to be projects or priority, you can do that too. All you need to do is change the reference from F to G. So if we go back here and double click, here's where the formula is. It's a query formula. You can see that it's selecting these 3 areas, right? And that's because it's referencing these 3 cells to create the filter. Here is where it references F. F is the client name. It's comparing the value in B10 right here to the values in column F. So if you wanted it to be something different, you would change this from F to something else, and then you change the drop down to what's in that column. So we're going to copy this formula. We don't need these labels because the formula already comes with labels. We're going to place the formula right here. When we paste it, you can see task and total hours. The formula comes with a label. Change the database name to database 2. Everything else is the same. You can see it's referencing the correct start date and client name. If it's not working for you, double check the columns and make sure that the columns match. So column C is the task name. So you need to make sure that your task name is column C. If it's not column C, you can adjust your database or you can adjust the formula. We want to make sure that column L is the hours, and then B8, B9, B10, these cells right here. H is for the date. So make sure that your date is in column H because that's what it's looking for. And make sure that when you're using the query formula and you're referencing the columns, you're using uppercase. If you use lowercase, it will not work. You can change the label here if you need to, so you can delete task and type something else in this section and it would spit out the name that you put in this area right here. So let's hit enter. Between May 14th and May 31st, for this client, we have one task and it's 1 hour. And if we remove the client's name, you don't have to use this filter when you don't need to. So we've removed the client name. Now it's going to show all of the tasks between May 14 and May 31st. Let's change it to August because I know we don't have any tasks in August. So when we change the dates to a date in August, nothing shows up, which is consistent with the data we have put into our database. I'm just going to change this color here, this darker color. All right. So this part is done. And now you can see why I extended this, because depending on the dates that you select here, your start and your end dates, especially if you don't add a client name filter, this can be a long list. So you have this extension if you need to. All right, so let's move on to this section. To add the graph, click anywhere in this tab. We're going to click on Insert Charts. For the data range, go ahead and click on Select Data Range. Go back to our tab with our database. We're going to graph this range and this range. So column I and column L. First, add column I, selecting some of the values in that column and remove the row number. So it automatically selects the entire row. Click on Add Another Range. And now I'm selecting column L as the second range. Remove the row number. So now I have both of them selected. I can hit OK. So now we need to make some changes so it looks exactly how we want. It's a column chart, so we don't need to do anything there. They're both showing under series, and that's not what we want. We want the series to be the time spent, and the x-axis needs to be the month and the year. So remove the month and the year from here, and then go back here and add the month and the year and aggregate. And now it looks the way it's supposed to. And then you can go to customize and change things around. You can move the background color if you want and the border. And I'm going to do that because I'm going to push the graph in this area, so I don't really need the border and the color that comes with the graph, and I'll put it right in this space. So it looks okay. If you want to change the colors, you can double click, and the fill color is what you would use to change it. So I'll change it to this color. All right. And then now you can see that it says May and then April and then June. So we need to sort the dates. Back to our database. You see how we have May showing up here and then April. And it's just because I entered it that way. If you enter it correctly, you wouldn't have this problem. But that's not an issue because we can sort using this option here. So click on the icon next to dates. We're going to sort A to Z. And now you can see it goes from April to May through June. And then the graph should be correct, April, May, June. Next, we're going to add these two graphs to our dashboard. So go back here, click anywhere here, insert chart. It's automatically selecting a random range that we did not assign. We're just going to ignore that. We do want this bar chart style, so that's correct. Now we're going to change the range. Click on Select Data Range. Go to our tab without data. We want to select the project range. So select column D. Remove the row number so it selects everything all the way down. Add another range. Select column L, which is the time. We have a column D and column L selected, and click OK. When we go back here, click Aggregate so it adds up the hours for each. And then go to Customize and just remove the border color like we did before in the chart border, and just move it into this space like so it fits in this square. And you do have the option if you want to readjust it. So if you wanted to, let's say, extend it all the way here and use this entire area for project name, because remember you have some additional space here, so you could maybe do projects for this entire area and do client name for this entire area. So make two rectangles like the shape of this one. So you have the option to do that. I'm sticking with this design just to match what I created in the example. And then we don't need this to say start dates. I'm just going to delete these and delete the title as well. So it looks like this. If we go back to our example, you can see it looks a little bit different. We don't have the lines and we have hours showing up here. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go here, double click to open back up the customize section. Go to series and change the color to whatever you want. And then we're going to add data labels. So check on data labels, and that's how you get the hours showing up here. Finally, go to grid lines and thicks. Make sure it says horizontal axis, and we're going to remove the grid lines. Now you could readjust this section right here. So double click, you see this square, you can readjust it so that the text here fits better. We can copy this chart. So click right here, copy chart, paste it here, and then go back to this section, edit chart. We're going to reselect the data range. So we know we want L, so we just need to reselect D. So going back here, we want the client's name. So actually we can just change this from D to F. L remains the same because we want to graph the name and the hours. So click OK. If it looks like this, that's not a problem. What we want is time spent to be here and the names to be here, just like we have the project names here. So we have to reselect it. So here that it says time spent, we're going to remove that and change it to name. All right. And then the series, make sure it says time spent and it says aggregates. All right, so now it looks how we want it to look, and you can change the color to whatever you want. So I'm just going to change the color here to this color. This part's done. Now we're going to move on to the section here. First, we'll do the table, and then we'll make the graph because the graph depends on the information from the table. Back to our dashboard, so you can see the formula. It's another query formula, and what it's going to do is going to filter the category. The category would be in the first column here. Then it's going to add up the number of hours spent in that category and then the amount of money. All right, so column E, column L, the time spent, and column N. All right, so we're going to select that, pause the video, copy the formula. I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about my Patreon. If you are a subscriber, paid Patreon members will get a copy of this template that we are creating today. Not only that, you get a copy of the templates that I have created in the past. Thank you, current Patreon subscribers. We've copied the formula. So now we're going to go here into our actual templates. We're going to paste it here. The formula does come with labels, so we don't need to add the labels here. Change the name by adding 2 here, so it's referencing this tab, and click enter. We can do a little bit of formatting for here, so add currency, make this bold. We're going to do the same thing here. It's the same formula. So if we scroll here and double click in this formula, column E is category, so that's column E, category. Now we're going to use the same formula, and instead of E, we're going to use the column that has projects because it's going to summarize it by project, which is column D. Just make sure we copy the one here that has the correct sheet name and paste it here. Before we hit enter, anywhere you see E, change it to D in uppercase because we want it to reference the project name. So D, 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 D. And then instead of it labeled category, you're going to select this. Make sure you keep this single quotes. We want only the text in the single quotes to be changed. Change this from category to project. And you see how you can do this for any other column. If you want it to group by client's name, for example, or another drop down that you have pre-selected in your database, you can do that. Just make sure you select the right column, label it correctly, hit enter, and then we have this error message. So we need to change the range here. This is starting from E and we're entering D, so it's not going to find that range. So make sure you change this as well from E to D and then hit enter. And now it looks like it's working correctly. What these tables represent, just to reiterate, is for all of the data entered into your database. It could be several months of data, weeks, months, even years worth of data. Is going to tell you how many hours you spent writing and how much money is tied to that category. Same thing for the project. If you're tying your task to a project, it's going to tell you how many hours you spent for that project and how much money is tied to that project. It's not tied to fixed dates like this information is. This is for all of the data in your database. So now we're going to do the graph. The graph is going to be based on the category and the total hours. Select this entire range, click on insert charts, select donut charts, go to chart style, remove the background and the border, and pie charts. The donut hole is 50%. I like it narrower. You can change it to whatever size you want. I'm going to change it to 80 and then move it into the space. Readjust it to make sure it fits in perfectly right here. We need the same chart here, so we can copy this chart and just change the range. So copy charts, paste it here, and edit charts, data range. So we're going to reselect the data range. We're going to select this data range this time. Click OK. And now we should have the correct data range selected. And here is the final results. And then if you want, because you have this dead space, you can certainly add more graphs here to make use of this dead space. And if you are dealing with lots of categories on the project, you can definitely extend this table all the way down so it matches the level of this table, and then you have additional space for additional summary charts and graphs. Back to our checklist. I talked about my Patreon. Again, thank you current subscribers. If you want to subscribe to my Patreon, the link would be in the description box below. We are done with this tutorial. This is the second in this series. I probably have 6 or 7 to go. and someone has already reached out to me with an example database, and I will take that database and use that to create a dashboard so I can show you the process of doing that as well. You can send me your idea, or if you already have the actual data, you can remove any confidential information before sending it to me, and then we can add placeholder data in those areas and use it to create a dashboard so we can even help more people. So if you have any ideas, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section. My email address is also going to be in the description box. Thank you so much if you watched all the way to the end. If this video helped you, please leave a like. Also, if you can send it to someone that you think would find this useful, go ahead and share this video with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.